recorded live from the secret underground lair of Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles. This is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast.
The following issues may contain spoilers. We are ready. We have a cake to save. I'm Anthony.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Jim.
I'm B-Brad.
Welcome to issue number 323 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast. Every time we record, we talk about comic books. On this week's show, we've got two club discussion picks. Continuing on with our one-shots of our Disney Marvel mashups, we have What If Mickey and Friends Became the Avengers? And then we're going to cover issue number 5 of Minor Arcana. Then we're going to jump over to the weekly reviews. That's where we talk about books that we've been reading. Whether they're new, whether they're old, we're going to talk about them there. And that is going to be the setup for our show. Let's dive right into the club discussion. All right, first up in the club discussion is What If Mickey and Friends Became the Avengers? Avengers, Duck's Guardians, and Loki, oh my. Donald Duck is Thor, Mickey Mouse is Iron Man, Goofy is the Hulk, Minnie Mouse and Pluto are the Wasp and Ant-Man. How did these sensational superheroes become the mighty Avengers, and what part does a cake monster and Gladstone Loki play in their origin? Find out in this hilarious mashup of Marvel's and Disney's greatest characters. This comic is done by Steve Bailing, Luca Barberi, Alessandro Pastrovicchio, Lucio Rivedati, and Laura Tartaglia. Don't know if any of those are accurate, but I think that was now the best performance I've gotten through those names. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there. All right, so this is, once again, another one-shot here, and that is why D-Brad is back here at the Crimson Cowl Comic Club. Welcome back to the show, D-Brad.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Exactly, and we're here to talk about another of these one-shot mashups. If people haven't checked out the past episodes, I think we've all been on the same page of just really adoring these. You know, maybe some are better than other ones, but it seems like the results are just thumbs up for every issue. And now we're going to find out if the streak continues with this Avengers tale, a reimagining of the original first Avengers issue back in the 60s. So yeah, this comic is dealing with the, you have Odin Scrooge, and you got Gladstone Loki, and basically the competition of Loki and Donald Duck Thor, and wanting to basically create a reason for Loki and Thor to challenge each other, to kind of Loki to show and prove dominance, and he's more powerful in front of their father, and creating a distraction, creating a little plot line, if you will, to rile up Thor, as well as riling up a group of heroes to form a team. Much of this issue very much follows in the trend of that original Avengers origin story, with Hulk being kind of turned loose on the characters and the Marvel heroes, and them becoming a team because of him being the major threat that they are facing. There are a few things that are swapped out as we get a cake monster. I haven't read that first Avengers issue in quite some time, but I don't remember a cake monster in there. So we're definitely going to see some fun Disney substitutions throughout this issue to kind of find out how well they translated this issue. So D. Brad is back to the show. We'll kick it off with you on your kind of general overall thoughts on how did they do with this Avengers issue.
Yeah, it was a great issue, just like all the others. And I think it was the same artist who did the last one. What was the last one that we just did? Was it the Thor one?
Fantastic Four, I think.
Fantastic Four one? Yeah, it might be the same artist. And what I like about this artist, Alessandro, is he I assume he sounds like a he name, um, that you can tell sometimes when pencils are inked, it loses. It doesn't look like it's been drawn anymore. Like um, there's something gets lost sometimes in inking, but in this one, it looks like he could have drawn it right with a pen because you can see like the lines that are in there. If you look, especially at the two shots of the character or the close-ups, especially that first panel with the Loki, show that Loki picture. That's just like woohoo, like that expressions, the line work, like it just looks like somebody drew that. And sometimes it doesn't look like a person drew it anymore. Sometimes with digital comics or
Yeah.
drawing, but it still looks like it's been drawn by hand, even though it has been probably drawn digitally.
Good hatch lines and stuff like that.
Hatch lines, yeah, that's it. That's the hatch lines. I love those. And so, and even with the coloring, if you look closely, especially what you see with Goofy Hulk or Hulk Goofy, whatever,
Yeah.
that the colorist, it looks like they're brush strokes even.
And
I feel.
and a fun fact, I don't want to get too far off of the hatch lines, but whenever I do those, when I draw, I just call them latch lines. Go ahead.
Nice. Yeah, 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 yeah. And I like that they chose Gladstone Gander as Loki. I don't know if it was a pun or anything because Gladstone Gander is known in the Donald Duck comics as the luckiest duck. He's a lucky duck. So
Hmm.
maybe that's lucky and lucky. But all of his poses are I just went, wow, those are poses. Like each pose is just like a wow moment for me. I was like in awe.
I'm not too familiar with Gladstone. Is there any kind of facts that you have about the character at all?
Oh, just everything goes right for him, and Donald Duck is extremely jealous of him. Like he'll win everything if he
So
enters. Like, yeah, he's just a lucky duck. Yeah,
there we go.
they're cousins. Yeah, and so there is that family dynamic. Yeah, but yeah, those poses are just every single pose is of Loki is, and and it was fun to see the monster character being made out of the cake. That drawing, look at that. Yeah. And other thing that stood out to me is well, the main thing was the art, the story. It was fine. I didn't find it. Um, um, I didn't find like I was in awe or wow because it's like an adaptation, kind of a parody, right? So it was a fun story. It made sense. Everything worked out. But I was just like in awe of the art mostly. Oh, especially oh yeah, go to that one, Kirby. You've got the one I want to. It's got Minnie and Pluto, the one where Pluto looks kind of sad or perturbed, whatever. That picture there. Um, yeah, that one. Yeah, that that one I wrote down as a standout with the expressions. That is awesome, and I like the way that they draw the eyes for the characters because they draw them the same way I draw eyes, so I can relate to that. Um, and then one thing I thought was weird is that they give away their secret identities and their names.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think we've talked about in the past issues where
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering how they cast these characters, and they're not necessarily cast just for like, oh, this is the character that is most like a great example would be the Pluto and Minnie. Like why are they Ant-Man and the Wasp? Other than, oh, we're just doing it just to cast characters. So it is that has been a layer of kind of hilarity in that sense of eh, that's just
Yeah,
what.
they feel like calling Batman Bruce Batman, right?
That should happen though. Maybe
Yeah.
you had teased before the show off air about getting the Tom King Batman collection. I don't want to give any spoilers, but maybe he's known as Bruce Batman in there. We'll see.
Maybe
Batman Wayne.
Batman Wayne. Yeah, they could have done that. And then what was one more thing? There's other things, but I'll give everybody else a chance, so I don't take it all.
Yeah, yeah. Let's jump over to Jim. Your thoughts on this issue?
Again, it was a really fun issue. Talking about how you lined up the characters, I too thought Mickey and Minnie as Ant-Man and the Wasp would have been perfect. And then what else would I would have done? But I think you would have had to make Goofy Iron Man and Pluto Hulk, which would make sense then because Hulk doesn't talk, or at least much, and Pluto
Right.
doesn't talk.
Right.
But other than that, there was no changes I would have made. I mean, yeah, it was a good parody of the story. It was fun. It was, great artwork, very colorful, cute story. It was great. These are just so fun, and these are kind of the ones that I kind of wish I had now had in paper so that I could share them with like kids if there was kids around again. But
Yeah.
maybe that's just something that when they are done, there will be a trade paperback that I can pick up again. So
There is. Yeah.
okay,
I pre-ordered it already. Yeah.
good to know.
Now
I
there
just
there was one that we talked about, I think, that had the Infinity Dime. Now, is that the one?
No, this is like a what if, the whole what if collection.
Okay, so I think the Infinity Dime was maybe like an extra size version of that comic
Yeah.
or something, because I think we did talk about that as a
Yeah.
collection too.
Yeah. But they still have to put out the Iron Man one and then they'll have a trade collection of them all.
Cool, cool.
So
Yeah.
All right, let's jump over to Katie. Thoughts on this issue?
Absolutely. So another fun issue. The artwork was just stunning, and the line work, the color work, A plus. Great job. No notes. Um, Normally I'm pretty chill with like the Asgardian names, but I felt like some of the names in this book got a little bit mouthy, like Gladstone Loki and Scrooge Odin or Odin Scrooge. Um, Super fun. It's pulling pretty much straight from the source material. I think given that my introduction to the Avengers was the movie, I would have enjoyed a couple scenes of the Avengers beating up some bad guys, but maybe that'll be to come. Interesting casting Pluto as Ant-Man. And I liked when, Mickey as Iron Man did the superhero leap and landing. That was really cool. Yeah, the art is just so beautiful. There was a little detail I appreciated while Donald, Thor, and Daisy Sif were walking in the park, and Donald had the cane, kind of like Donald Blake does in. Oh, I get it now. I was okay. Two thoughts are happening there. I'm glad that Donald had the cane, like Donald Blake does, to use to transform into Thor in the comics. And also now I get it. It's Donald Duck, Donald Blake. They're both Donalds. Okay, that's funny. Good one, Disney writers. That one actually took me a little bit to cook on. I liked it. It was fun, and of course, it's so satisfying at the end where we have the Avengers assemble scene. Really great stuff. Would actually enjoy reading more with this team up because this was mostly how are we getting our people together rather than all right, now we're the Avengers and we're going to fight bad guys. I enjoyed it. Worth the money and looking forward to the next one. Check it out.
All right, let's jump over to Kirby. Thoughts?
All right. Of course, I got to be Debbie Downer. This was my least favorite one. I do. This is my favorite panel, of course, the cake monster.
Mhm.
But I hated that they did Donald Thor. They had to put their names before every character, but yet we're okay with just calling them the Avengers. Why aren't we calling them the Duck Avengers or whatever, the Disney Avengers or something, if you're going to do that with every name?
Yeah.
And we have the whole multiverse thing. Everybody's got the same name in every multiverse world. Why couldn't we just keep them as Thor and Hulk and stuff like that? We know what the characters are.
Yeah, the Disney characters are playing the Marvel characters, so they could have just.
Yeah.
If
I just hated
played
every time I had to read a name, I had to say Donald Thor. It's like, let's stop that. And then I was really bummed with. I mean, I get it that it's parody of the original story and everything like that, but I wanted more action. And it was a nice thick comic, and I was really looking forward to seeing Hulk and the Cake go at it for a while, at least a couple panels of that.
Yeah.
And with the Ant-Man Wasp, I mean, really? We got to wait 5 days for flying ants to take us somewhere when you could go giant sized and just get there right now. I mean, stuff like that was kind of just a little goofy to me, but other than that, yeah, goofy. Other than that, it was an all right story. There just wasn't enough action for this many characters in a thing. I didn't expect them just to play off the original and just
Mhm.
not really go into any big battle scene or anything. I was just because you're not going to get an issue two. So why not give us something instead of just a origin style story? And so,
Yeah,
but
kind
other
of,
than that, it was enjoyable like the rest of them. As far as a read, it just the names drove me nuts and not having enough battle stuff going on.
yeah, and kind of like with the Captain Marvel slash Ms. Marvel one, where they took, a span of a couple issues and kind of meshed them into one issue. So I could see that, being a good way to do that for the Avengers one too, of just kind of mashing up some extra stories. But
Yeah, I could
Yeah.
I could easily go 2-3 issues for each one of the stories.
Oh, yeah. The Fantastic Four had a lot of action in it, didn't it?
Yeah,
Maybe because it had fewer characters, you think?
yeah.
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 That
Or
one,
it's kind of
yeah,
story?
that one I think is one of my favorite ones out of all of them so
Mhm.
far.
Yeah, mine. It is mine. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
love
Fantastic.
that
No.
whole carnival origin story idea.
Yeah.
So,
hmm Yeah, no, Kirby, I agree with you. While this was pretty fun, I again also wanted a little more action. And while it's, I think, still a good book, so far it's been the weakest one for me. So yeah, I see where you're coming from. I would have liked a little bit more action. And we know they're comfortable doing it because they've done it in other books. I know, you have to have kid gloves with Mickey Mouse and stuff, but still I think a fun book.
and as we mentioned, visually, it's been great. It's great looking at
hmm
all the backgrounds and the colors and the details, and there's just a lot to look at when they get into crowd scenes. Just looking
Yeah.
at once again the cake monster thing. There's just so much going on to look at in
hmm
the background, and all the spectators and all the other people that are in the crowd scenes and stuff. So there's definitely a lot of extra work from the artist standpoint.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
cake monster was so goofy. I liked that a lot.
yeah, it definitely would have been fun to see them battle.
I thought it was clever that when Goofy Hulk kicked the soccer ball and knocked it into the satellite, that was the same reason that Iron Man's uh, GPS didn't work.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was trying to find the line of dialogue, but I can't place it right. Oh yeah, here it is. Of when Loki is speaking to Hulk, and Hulk is just like a phone call without a phone. Just that, just that little moment of getting that astral projection of the Loki eyes, and so that was a comedy moment wise. I like that little moment of so cool. Any other closing thoughts, lingering thoughts on this issue at all?
It was kind of a throwback to old comics. When they showed a character being invisible, they would make the character in a dotted line.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Oh,
they did that for Goofy's mental projections using a dotted line, just like whenever they show Casper going invisible in the Casper comics.
yeah. And strangely, that reminds me of something I have to talk about in the next book. So I'm glad you brought that up because I will bring up something in the next title we're talking about that's similar in that sense.
Okay.
I have a general Disney comic update related type thing. So, the character who I was struggling to name in Big Hero 6, it's not Frankie, it's Freddy. So I was super close, and he's the Godzilla guy. So, also Disney comics related, just a quick correction. It's Fred, not Frank.
I think I shot that out, but maybe I was on mute when I did it.
No, you probably did. And so little background, I'm also doing a bunch of tax stuff today, so I've been on and off the phone and numbers and things like that, and just not all computing. But I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
It's
So
kind
the
of
guy
funny.
you
Shaggy.
called Shaggy actually named Fred.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh,
So that's what I was queuing up because you were still within the Scooby Gang talking about Fred and Shaggy, but
Yeah.
awesome. All right. Well, that is going to do it then for another one of these Disney Marvel crossover issues. They advertised the next one, which we did nominate as a club pick in our last previews episode. What if Donald Duck became Iron Man? So that'll be the next one in our lineup of these Disney Marvel mashups there. But that's going to do it for this one. But we do have another club pick that I have to.
Why isn't it Mickey? Like,
Yeah, because Mickey's and
he's
that's one
Iron
thing
Man in
too.
the Avengers.
I think we commented on a past issue of
Yeah.
certain characters not being recast in the same roles and stuff, and they're just kind of
It's what if, so they're different
yeah.
different universes.
All right. The next one here, we are talking about issue number 5 of Minor Arcana. In this illuminating issue, we dive into the history of Bud St. Pierre, Teresa's late grandfather, burdened with bad omens as he trudges through the mundanity of his life in Limberlost. Bud reflects on his past, present, and future. He can't shake the feeling that something bad is coming, something that may have lasting effects over the ones he holds close. In a desperate bid to free herself of this new curse, Teresa finds herself thrown into the unseen world once again. Okay, I must have just not deleted my synopsis from issue 4 because I think that last paragraph was from that. So, yep, I'm going to delete all that. And now we're back to the credits. This issue is done by Jeff Lemire, this time adding Patricio Del Pesce and Steve Wands. So yeah, I think this is the first time where we have a different colorist on the book. And while I'm used to a Jeff Lemire solo title, I'm used to him doing all of the work in addition to Steve Wands doing the letters and stuff. I didn't notice it at all. I don't know if anyone else can feel free to comment on that as you go through. Maybe it's something I would notice a second time through, but the person they got to do this, Patricio, I think definitely worked well because I didn't notice it, but we'll find that out later. So yeah, this issue is essentially a solo issue about the grandfather. We're going back to were we in the 70s? Is that what it was?
76.
Yep. Yeah, it was not too long after Jim's Kindle was created that he reads his books on. 1976 there. But yeah, so we deal with this story and we learn a lot about the grandfather. We learn a lot about him being kind of he's in a rut. He's in a routine. He is a 40-year-old man who has a wife and a kid and goes to his job. He goes to the family. He goes to the bar. He repeats it over, and he just kind of is in this same kind of pattern and motion. And this issue is dealing with him kind of wondering what his purpose is. If this is, he knows that he does have it good. He should be enjoying, what he does have as a 40-year-old man with his family, but just notices that there is something off and there's something that feels is lurking, maybe a different purpose, something bad is possibly going to happen. So that is kind of the overall theme of this here. We'll jump over to Jim if you want to kick it off here. Your thoughts on issue number 5 of Minor Arcana.
It was a little bit slow for me to get into it, but about halfway, when you see him developing the mental motif of the infinity symbol and developing, the stuck in a rut, the infinity symbol, and then when he breaks that in that rut and breaks the infinity, something does happen, and it's something bad. And that is a huge portrayal of what Teresa experiences throughout her life. It was like all this tragedy and everything. It's like I was a little disappointed to find out that this grandfather that she kind of idolizes was actually kind of a heel and running around on the family.
Yeah.
Although that kind of plays into the bad things that are happening to him as well. So, and then what is going on with the other vehicle that he encounters at the end of the story. I obviously we need to leave something for the next book, but it makes you wonder, well, when can I finally read this again? So looking forward to issue 6 a lot. Oh yes, that was a great panel. He is losing himself and is quickly shocked back into reality when he faces an oncoming vehicle.
And what I had mentioned in my setup here with having a different colorist on to help out Jeff Lemire, did you notice anything at all? Your thoughts on that?
I did not. In fact, until you mentioned it, I didn't even know that it was a different one.
Yeah, I was getting ready to, I always keep a lot of the same creative team on every time we revisit the next issue of a book. And then I just happened to notice, I'm like, oh, there's an extra name here. And I'm glad I double checked, but I guess that is the compliments to Patricio Del Pesce, just for the fact that I think they did an excellent job of coloring Jeff Lemire's work because I did not notice any difference, and that is a great compliment because kind of Scotty Young has that same thing with some of the artists and colorists and stuff that like when he does his solo books that you'd almost still believe that it's Scotty Young art even though he's only writing because he's found some people that just like work with even though they have their own style it's still close enough and it fits Scotty's writing and tone and his world. But so
Does a writer artist who is doing something like this on their own, when they need help, do they audition an additional artist to
yeah,
fit their style?
it's a great question. I don't know if anybody has any insight on it. My guess would be like it's probably something that the artists themselves handpick. Like they've seen their work, whether they're friends, things like that. I'm sure it's just like here's another great example that during the All Reds comics, whenever they're like doing Madman, or even they did it with Ecstatics. Mike Allred works at a slower pace, and sometimes he needs a little head start before they solicit issues. And there are sometimes, especially if you're on the Marvel schedule, where you just can't wait. You can't have those month or two gaps in there that you can with like an independent series. And Darwin Cook was one of those artists that would jump in for Mike Allred and draw his work in. And while visually there is a difference in their art, but there's still similarities that if you're a casual reader of it, you probably wouldn't have been taken out of the story too much. It would have been different if you had taken a completely, like taken like Jay Lee or somebody like a completely different artist and be like, oh, this is really different. But so in a sense like that, I think, whether it's a friendship and people have the connections in the business that they probably like, hey, I know you can do the work and you want to pencil this, color this, ink this, or whatever. So I don't know if anybody else had any insight on that, but my guess is just simply handpicking friends and people that you're just aware of that have the capabilities.
Mhm.
We'll jump over to Katie. Thoughts on issue number 5 here?
Yeah, oh my gosh, this was such an intense issue. Really emotional and so good. There gosh, just so many emotional, not really high points, but very strong points in this. And um wow, that ending is super powerful where he gets into the car accident and he's like, oh, holy shit, I'm alive. I survived. The bad thing that I thought was going to happen to me didn't happen. And for just like the briefest second, you're like, okay, everything's going to be fine. Nope, everything is not going to be fine. All the omens he were seeing was that he was going to do something bad to somebody else. And, interesting that either his future self or a spirit guide or something comes and says, no, this is the point where your life starts. And I thought like the poetry of one life ending while one life starting was really interesting to present that. And like this major life change is going to be born out of tragedy. Like it sounds like maybe he's awakening to some kind of psychic abilities. That's interesting. I want to hear more about that. And also, wow, he looks really rough for someone who's turning 40 in like 3 weeks. I'm like, my friend, you have had a tough life, and it really shows the complexities in their family dynamic because I think he does genuinely love his wife and kids, but he's just struggling like so much and feeling with like, I haven't accomplished anything and this is not what I wanted my life to be. And I know that I'm unhappy and I feel like I'm powerless to fix it. So intense. And you really, through the artwork and the words, they just perfectly paint the kind of pain and the problems that this person is having, and that they're really pushing him to do things that maybe he doesn't really want to do. I'm fascinated by this issue. It is so intense and I want to know more. Great issue. Looking forward to number 6. Check it out.
And looking at his family life too, looking back at some of the panels, and on paper, literally,
Mhm.
it looks like they're fairly happy as far as
Yeah.
they have the little moments of him, lying, but it's kind of done and just kind of, they seem very playful in that sense. Obviously, bad
Hmm.
stuff happens later on that sucks and is awful. But like kind of looking back at some of this and just being like, the kid is happy and smiling to hug the dad, and
Hmm.
they're there for dinner and all that kind of stuff. So seemingly, there's you don't see a lot of troubles, but then obviously the bad stuff happens, and yeah. Anyways, but yeah, any other closing thoughts on this at all? All right, I think that is going to do it for this issue of Minor Arcana. And I believe, does this close out a chapter or a book or whatever they're calling them? I don't know if we have that information yet, because once again, we have
The first chapter was 3 books, so I'm assuming that this one would be as well.
okay. But yeah, anyways, there's more Minor Arcana to come. That is going to do it for this. Future club discussions as I get back to my list here. Batman Full Moon number 4 will probably be in our next episode. I made an oopsie and somehow didn't order that issue. So I will retrieve that issue physically or digitally by the time we record next so we can close out that mini series finally. So that one's lingering. And then the What If Donald Duck became Iron Man, right? Now I keep thinking Mickey because I see Mickey as Iron Man. Yeah, the we'll have that Iron Man issue, and yeah, that is going to do it then for the club discussion. Let's move over to the weekly reviews. First up is something that I'm very excited about from a recent previews that I became aware of. We're talking about Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy. This is Volume 1. Batman and Robin meet Rocky and Bullwinkle. The forest is full of danger, but help is here. Meet Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy, improbable pals who use their powers, laser vision, and the unrelenting sense of optimism to fight the forces of evil. Join the dynamic duo as they battle aliens, a mutant fish bear, a cyborg porcupine, and a mechanical squirrel. Hear that? Yep, Kirby, mechanical squirrels. Learning along the way that looking on the bright side might just be as powerful as shooting a laser. Get ready for hilarious action packed laser powered adventures. This was created by Doug Savage. There's one name on the book, so Doug Savage, writing, illustrations, colors, letters, everything but Doug Savage. In one of our recent previews episodes, I saw a later volume, I think of volume 4, of Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy, and I'm like, how have I never heard of this? Because that's something I would have bought immediately. So I went back and found volume 1, and I devoured it. It is excellent. I am a sucker for just a hilarious title. You got animals in the comics. You don't dive into any origin stories. You just accept the fact that this moose has laser eyes, which is a lot of fun. And then when you try to think about, like, all right, what's the Rabbit Boy's powers? And it is simply what it said in the synopsis is optimism. So Laser Moose is always, he's always looking out for danger, whether it's dangers lurking at night or even dangers during the day when you least expect it. Laser Moose is just always on alert, basically, and Rabbit Boy is there just to try to kind of put him at ease and just be like, all right, you don't have to, be so tense and on alert all the time. But then usually danger lurks as you see some shadows in the background here. So it is funny that, even though Laser Moose is always in this mindset, it does end up panning out because always something happens in these adventures. This volume consists, I assume these are all original graphic novels. I don't think they've been collected individually, but they are done in these fun little chapters, which are kind of highlighting some of our characters mentioned. We have Aqua Bear. Aqua Bear is, I'll show off a couple of the pages here as I get into the main story here. But Aqua Bear is simply a bear that gets into a sewage plant, and there's like a river stream that's infected with the sewage, and this typical normal bear becomes Aqua Bear, and I'm going to show off some of that. I'll be kind of picking and choosing some of the stuff I show off. I still want to keep it spoiler free, even though this is the first volume of assumingly 4 of them. There's definitely a lot of fun to discover in here. So our Aqua Bear character has a nice splash page introduction, which here we are, just to see some of the art examples. Here's Aqua Bear coming out from the sewage of the river there. And when Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy get surprised by Aqua Bear, they have to try to tame him. And once again, you got Laser Moose, who is just thinking, all right, this is an enemy. But then you have Rabbit Boy just being like, well, we don't know if he's a bad guy or not, so let's figure out, So there's just a lot of fun adventures that go on to always try to put out these fires. So that's one of the stories. Another one is oh yes, the Mecha Squirrel. Now, Mecha Squirrel comes in by the hands of another character, Cyborgupine. Cyborgupine is a character in this in another story here. I'll show off these examples. If you're only listening to us on iTunes, feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube for the full video version, and you get to see some of these art examples. But here you have the Cyborgupine character who is looking out in the trees. He has some schemes as he is working on. He lives in this van in the forest here, and he is putting together a mecha squirrel that is essentially possibly going to take over the world, take over the forest. We'll find out. That's obviously we'll find out Laser Moose's his opinions of the fact. But yeah, there's a great scene here where I'll just to kind of show you the humor of it. So they're wondering what this little mecha squirrel is going to do. Like, oh, just such a tiny squirrel. Like, why should we be scared? What is it going to do? Bite my ankles? We go into the next panel, and sure enough, it's gnawing at Laser Moose ankles right away. But then you quickly see the strength of this mecha squirrel. Where is it? Is it? Yep, there we go. Picks up the moose there and then starts tossing it. So that's a lot of fun. So yeah, this book is fun. It's got a lot of crazy characters. I looked at some of the volumes and the titles of the books that come after it. It looks like they have crazy creature combinations for each one. And yeah, I absolutely love this. I'm going to get some more Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy. I don't know much about Doug Savage here, but I'm glad that I do now. Thanks to Laser Moose and Rabbit Boy. Get them now. Fun, all ages comics.
All right. I would file that under ideas I wish I came up with.
Exactly. It's just like I look at this just being like, I don't want to say it's so simple, but it's like in concept it's so simple, but the execution is beautiful and amazing. But yeah, it's just like, dang it, how come we didn't come up with Laser?
You can do maple syrup moose, and then when he sneezes, maple syrup shoots out. And
Maple Moose has a nice name to it.
Good one.
We'll jump over to Kirby for the next pick. What you got?
sticking with the crazy animals, we got Marvel Mutts.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I picked this up. I'm guessing it was all digital prior to all this. But
Yeah.
we got Mackenzie Cadenhead, Takashi Miyazawa, Raul Agualo, DC's Joe Sabino, Takeshi Miyazawa, Paul Angulo, Chrissy Zuluk, Ricky Yagawa, Nolan Woodard, Stacy Zucker, Jasmine Alvarez, Annie Chen, Kat Walkington, Tim Smith III, Mickey J. Basso, and some more worked on this. Our characters were mostly Luckjaw, Mittens, Lucky, Bats, and Cosmo. Mittens, I don't know if that's a new character to Miss Marvel or something like that, but Miss Marvel's in a battle to start with. Of course, this is a wordless comic. Pretty much, almost. The Cosmo speaks a couple times when he gets pissy.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Miss Marvel ends up getting this dog here that she's runs across while she's in battle, and then with our what you call it, the
Is that Craven?
Raven the Hunter,
Oh,
of course, has to be in an animal story.
right.
So she battles him and ends up falling in love with this dog, and this dog comes back with her to the Avengers mansion, and then they gets introduced to all the other characters along the way. And the first two stories pretty much focus on Miss Marvel working with the dog and stuff. And we get in the second story, Miss Marvel and American Chavez going out to the park to play with dogs. And I love this one because uh, American Chavez picks up the ball and throws it for throws it for the puppy. And of course, American Chavez has her power that opens up the star portals. So she throws the ball, and right before the ball gets to a portal, she opens a portal, and the ball goes through that. And see uh, Lockheed and the new puppy chasing the ball through portal after portal after portal, and they keep going to all these different areas where all these other superheroes are dealing with stuff. They get to go to Wakanda, the Marvel bullpen, Las Vegas, Queens, New York. They see Spider-Man and stuff, and it's like they just keep as they're chasing the ball. Just another portal opens, and they just keep getting bounced through to a bunch. That was hilarious watching them do that, and then we get a little Christmas story where our new mutt happens to catch Gwenpool dressed up as Santa Claus, and Gwenpool's eating the cookies and milk, and so our new pup gets mad and attacks Gwenpool and does some things to her. And then she joins up with the group in the next storyline, which takes us to basically a New Year's Eve party where all our characters are celebrating the countdown, but it ends up taking our puppy into a bad memory, and we get to see where there's some problems where he gets scared and runs off because of the fireworks, of course, that dogs hate during the holidays, and Spider-Man puts little spider earmuffs on. It was hilarious. And these stories are all so wonderful. We get a my favorite one, of course, has to do with Tippy Toe. Our Tippy Toe makes an appearance in here, and all the pups obviously have to chase after Tippy Toe, get the squirrel, and Tippy Toe kind of like attacks back, and then Tippy Toe goes up in a tree, and we find a little kitten, and the kitten just so happens to be getting stalked by a giant ant creature, and the kitten happens to be a flurkin and devours the giant ant. But yeah, I don't want to give away too many. We do get a devil dinosaur story in here where
Wow.
he just wants to play fetch and have fun with the dogs, and they're like, well, you're destroying everything, so the dogs are getting mad at Devil Dinosaur because he's too big to play with the rest of the kids, and it's all sad, but of course it works it out in the long run. There were quite a few stories in here. I was surprised. This one takes us back to Cosmo, when Cosmo was in Russia before the Sputnik launch and everything, before everything happened with him. We learned about a couple other dogs that roomed with Cosmo in there and find out some stuff about them. But yeah, it's basically a story that brings back memories because of a rope tug toy that someone put out, and it brought back memories of those days for Cosmo. But yeah, these were a blast. I love these things, and these all again were very well done. He gets little dogs boxing with little mice. They got their boxing gloves on and stuff in there. But yeah, every story without words. I mean, this was probably one of the best ones that they've had, where you didn't have to think about little panels or anything like that. Every panel just explained itself, and it was
That's good.
last to go through. So yeah,
Are they
check out Marvel Mutts.
are they connected, the stories, or they're all what
Yeah,
connects?
they all pretty much, it's all the same group, all kind of going through the year to different holidays and all that, and they all
Okay.
connect nicely
Okay.
together.
Yeah, normally this is something I get, and I don't know if I misordered or what, but I had to make a note to pick up a copy myself.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. I know you said something when I brought it up during the previews, but I thought it was something that you mentioned, like it was in digital form.
Yeah, some of the stuff sounds familiar, but so maybe, yeah, maybe some of it I did read eventually, but cool,
It's
cool.
definitely worth picking up. It's a nice sticky too.
Excellent. All right, we are going to jump over to Jim. What you got for us?
I have Zatanna #1 from the new all-in line of DC Comics. This one, unusual for a DC product, but it is also written, drawn, and colored and covered by one person. Only lettering is done by somebody else, and that person was Jamal Campbell, with the letterers by Arana Mar. So, just on a whim, I picked this up because the cover looked interesting. And this is the first Zatanna only story that I've ever read. And it is really a Zatanna story. It is nothing to do with any other DC characters except possibly her father, because he's mentioned. But yeah, it starts out with her starting a new show at a historic San Francisco theater. And on day one of rehearsals, very first rehearsal, she is called to the stage and she appears in her full costume and exasperates the crew immediately because she has to make the big entrance and do everything all up right away when they're just there to get started. But yeah, it's interesting. The story goes on to tell about how all these acts and famous movies debuted at this theater. They talk about the white woman who was a performer in the theater a long time ago, and then all this, and then eventually things start going bad backstage at the theater, and her crew starts to disappear, and she ends up using her powers to go after them and find them. And they're all in different dimensions of space and time. And she finds the white woman has sucked them into this place, and she has to track them down through like all the different movies they talked about having been at the theater. She ends up going across the different sets, Western and film noir and, adventure movies. She's trying to find her cast and crew, throughout all these places. Eventually, she comes face to face with a white woman, and she's trying to come onto a common ground with her. And at the very last moment, she is betrayed by one of her crew, who stabs her through the back with a sword, and then finds out, asking the white woman why. And as she is succumbing to the wounds, it seems that the white woman is saying, um, everything is ready for you, Mr. Zatar. And it kind of fades out then, and we see Zatanna lying on the ground with a sword through her back.
Ooh.
Da, da, da. Uh-oh.
And it says in the backwards lettering, to be continued.
Right.
So it was a really fun story. I think I will pick up the second issue just to see where it goes. I don't know that it's necessarily a series I'm going to read ongoing, but yeah, it was a fun story to read in this, especially since I've never done it before. I enjoyed it a lot.
Good.
Yeah, I was curious if I was just looking at my collection to see if I had any Zatanna solo stuff either, and I don't think so. Just it's always been like a part of a team or something like that. So
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Justice.
was part of the Justice League Dark series a couple of years ago.
yeah, I was reading that. Cool. All right, well, we are going to keep one foot in DC Comics as I talk about my next title here. I am talking about DC and Sonic the Hedgehog, issue number 1. It's a crossover event unlike any other. The monstrous Darkseid crosses dimensions to invade the world of Sonic the Hedgehog, seeking the ultimate power. Sonic and his friends have faced everything from mad scientists to ancient spirits, but the forces of Apocalypse may be too much for them. Thankfully, the full heroic might of the Justice League arrives to back them up. Don't miss part 1 of this unique crossover event. This issue is done by Ian Flynn, Adam Bryce Thomas, Matt Herms, Becca Carey, and Pablo M. Collar. All right. I like Sonic the Hedgehog. I was, once I saw this crossover here, which DC does a lot of fun crossovers with other properties and characters, and I'm usually on board for those kind of events. This is a 5-issue miniseries. Does not waste any time to get right into the action, which I loved, because very quickly, literally in the first page, we see Darkseid and his minions coming into crashing the party. Sonic is enjoying a chili dog there, which this is always at my desktop here. This isn't just for this episode, but I do have a Sonic holding a chili dog right in front of me as well. So I appreciate the detail of the creators to make sure that the chili dogs are present in this crossover as well. But yeah, they don't waste any time to get into the action because they are invaded by the parademons flying through the sky, going through, attacking all the hedgehogs and the whole Sonic team. There's only, I think, one character, Silver, Silver the Hedgehog, which I think is like a futuristic one. I don't recall that. I don't know if that's been where in the lore of the games and stuff, but they kind of what they do very well in this is that they pair up these characters with, I'll mention, because this is a DC crossover, the Justice League isn't too far behind because we meet them by having Flash and Sonic racing against each other. Now, this happens where Flash is like, hey, we're here, whoever you are, we're going to take care of this. We're the Justice League, blah, blah, blah. And then Sonic is just like, well, I can run faster than anybody. And like, no, I'm not going to wait behind. And so there's some playful back and forth, but nothing in this book takes the time to make any of these characters enemies while they do have these characters meet up and kind of pair up to, like if it's Knuckles and Superman, and then they have Shadow and Batman, Shadow the Hedgehog and Batman. So they find a lot of similar traits in these characters that pair them up with the traditional Justice League lineup. And yeah, very quickly they're just like, oh yeah, we're both here for these threats. Darkseid is after the emeralds from the Sonic world, and all of the normal comic booky stuff of getting all the power and taking over the universe and the world and destroying and blah blah blah. All the tropes that you would come to understand for these kind of comics, but it is done in a very fun fashion. Wanted to show off this awesome panel here where we have everybody meet up with everybody else. So that was just a cool pairing. I think it's just crazy that this exists as a thing right here. So that's just fun just to see. But yeah, they do a very good job with this one here. Yeah, I'll show this one off too, because like I said, with pairing off the characters. So you got Superman and Knuckles, you got Wonder Woman and Amy the Hedgehog, and then and then Shadow and Batman are both on their cycles there. So this was a ton of fun. If you didn't catch the first issue, feel free to jump on, or wait for a 5 issue trade paperback. Hopefully, not a 5 page trade paperback. But no, this is a ton of fun. I'm definitely going to get the other issues, and I'm a sucker for a goofy, fun crossover. And there's nothing too silly about this. Darkseid's intentions are very much Darkseid's intentions. Nothing seems to be dumbed down just to fit into a cartoony type of landscape or anything. And yeah, it's much like the Batman and Ninja Turtles mending well together. I think this does as well. So DC and Sonic the Hedgehog issue #1.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
Does DC have the license for Sonic comics?
No, so Sonic is probably, I don't know if that's over at IDW, because, well, it's weird. Yeah, it's weird that you say that, because normally they have the both logos on the cover, and they are not on here. Like if it's the Ninja Turtles and whatever they're doing, they always have both company logos, and they do not have that on this cover here. But yeah, I'm not sure where the Sonic comics. I traditionally I don't read. I had some when I was younger, but I haven't.
Archie Comics did Sonic for a while. I
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see any other publisher logo, and it doesn't say like DC and presents. So yeah, maybe they have some weird within the company, like kind of like with the with those video games where they just have all of these characters cross over. I don't know any of those games, but I see the advertisements for them where they just have, whether it's Looney Tunes and DC characters or whatever. And so, yeah.
Right.
That's a great question. I'm going to have to look into that. But so, yeah, check it out.
Cool.
All right. We're going to go into our next one here with Kirby. What you got?
I got Red Hulk #1. Never thought I'd be reading these, but I got sucked into it from the first round of Red Hulk stuff that came out. And this is, if you don't know, it's General Ross is the Red Hulk. This is done by Benjamin Piercy, is the writer, Geoff Shaw artist, Brian Valenza is the color artist, letter VC Corey Pitt. But yeah, we start out with Ross on a plane, goes off into the bathroom, and which he shouldn't have. He should have just kept his butt in his seat, because the plane was getting ready to land anyways. But he had something planned. There's more behind it that you find out if you read the story. But he goes in the bathroom, and while looking in the mirror, the Hulk looks back at him, and he rages out and turns into the Red Hulk. And of course, a Hulk in a plane is not a good thing. So we find out that basically they're around Korea, and this is kind of an attempt to set some events off. And we jump from this to seeing Ross all scraggly and bearded up, and he's talking to Dr. Doom. Here, Dr. Doom has Ross and a variety of other characters locked up and imprisoned in this facility somewhere. and you see Doctor Doom irritating Ross to the point to set the Hulk off, and he's basically doing that to get the rage set up and then sending him off to certain different destinations to destroy certain things that are key facilities or moments that are going to come back, and we're going to find out eventually what Doctor Doom's plans are. But we end up seeing that certain character, Deathlock, is doing some Morse code on a prison cell himself, and Ross hears this and finds out it's Morse code. I'm not going to show the other ones, but there is a variety of other characters that are also imprisoned in these cells, and we find out through Morse code what's going on with them. There may be a bunch of other people in there. We don't know how big this facility is or what Doom's whole purpose is behind it, but our characters do some things to try and maneuver around in the facility, escape their pens and stuff like that. But of course, this being issue 1, we don't get enough of the story to really give us anything. I'm really happy I did jump on this one. I usually don't give these new runs a long following, but I did go at least 5 issues so far. I think I pre-ordered, but because I heard good things about this and I was very interested in what's going on with it. So yeah, check out Red Hulk #1 if you're into that, especially with the movie that was out and stuff. That might bring out some people to jump on it. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I'm glad I did. You're muted. Busted.
Now I ruined it because I was saying the timing could not have been any more perfect, but then I ruined it with the mute there. Welcome, Katie. Hello.
Hi. Hey, everybody.
And whether you saw the message or not, we are in the weekly reviews first. So
Okay.
We are actually up to you. So if you are ready, literally we have one more spot and you're here. So that's perfect. So if you're ready.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm reviewing Big Hero 6, the manga, volume 1 by Haruki Ueno. This came out in 2015, so about a year after the movie. And I really enjoyed that film, and I knew it had some ties to like Marvel Comics from back in the day, and just kind of wanted to get into that and figure out how that all looked. So volume 1 is the majority of the same characters you know from the movie. Our main character is Hiro, his older brother Tadashi, and their aunt Cass, and of course Baymax, the healthcare robot. I would say this is familiar, but not the same. It seems honestly like it might be based off of a rough draft of the movie because it's a little more sinister in some spots with the villains and with Tadashi's involvement with the villains. And also, it's been a few years since I've watched the movie, but Hiro was not yet enrolled in college. Tadashi was trying to get his, boy genius little brother to enroll in college, and Hiro's like, "That's really dumb. I don't want to hang out with you nerds." One big change in this book is that Hiro and Tadashi are even closer than they were in the film. It borders on being a little codependent, but they lost their parents tragically very young, so I get it. And Hiro is enrolled at college. He's getting in trouble because he's not paying a lot of attention in classes. He's correcting the professors, and he is, he still really wants to be an inventor, and he is a little bit more sciencey and a bit more of a go-getter than Tadashi is. It seems like in this case, Tadashi is the one who's following Hiro versus if we remember in the movie, it's flipped the other way around. Hiro gets in trouble because he makes his little like BattleBot dudes to try and help rescue people and clean up after disasters like earthquakes, and he gets in trouble for showing them off at school on campus when he shouldn't have been and when he was told not to, causes a big mess. Tadashi gets a little bit hurt. The dean of students flips out and is like, "You're expelled. I'm banning you from the competition." Tadashi steps in and is like, "Nope, it's my fault. He had him hooked up to the computer. He was debugging them, and Whoops, clumsy me. I unplugged the computer, so totally my fault. Um, of course, it was actually neither of their faults because we find out there is a bad guy who has stolen Hiro's idea and is using the bots for nefarious purposes. Um, and it, yeah, so I'm trying to find where it actually picks up with the movie because this was honestly pretty different. So Tadashi and Hiro get into an argument because of that, because Hiro's like, I don't need you covering for me. Like, why would you throw your future away like that? Now he's mad at you. And Tadashi's like, no, this is great. Like, did you see that other professor? Professor Callahan was like so excited and he wants you to come intern for him. And it seems kind of like Tadashi's trying to push Hiro a little bit away from him. He's like, I've changed my mind. I want to switch my major. I'm going to be going away to school next semester, so I won't see you as much. You need to make your own friends, kind of a deal. And Hiro's feeling pretty hurt by that, understandably. He's like, this is completely out of the blue. Like, why are you telling me this? You have to be lying to me. Well, one night, Tadashi sneaks out and Hiro decides to follow him. Tadashi ends up going to this like secret bad guy villain lair science lab type thing where there is a strange masked individual and a great big giant portal to another dimension. Hiro follows him and is like, what the heck are you doing? Like, how are you caught up in all of this? You can't be. Well, unfortunately, we have our tragic moment where Tadashi saves Hiro and ends up falling into the evil bad guy portal to parts unknown. We are not sure if he's alive or dead. Hiro is devastated by this. He's now lost his parents and his big brother. And he feels strongly that Tadashi is not dead and that he's going to try and save him and get him back. But he doesn't really know how. Enter Baymax. Baymax is the healthcare robot and sees that Tadashi is gone, and Hiro is extremely upset by this, and it's affecting his health. He doesn't want to eat. He's just kind of laying around all day. He's super depressed. And Baymax starts trying to treat him and cheer him up and be like, you should go outside. You should go see your friends. And Hiro's like, I don't have any friends. My only friend just died. And he's like, no, you remember your friends. And so he shows Hiro a picture of some of Tadashi's friends from school, which we know from the movie is the Big Hero 6 squad. We have Honey Lemon, Gogo, Wasabi, and average looking white guy who looks like Disney made a version of Shaggy, whose name I can't remember right now. This is so bad. We'll just call him Frank. That might be right. I think it's Frankie. Every time I watch that movie, I'm like, oh wow, it's like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, because he just got like this like California hippie surfer stoner kind of goofy look. But of course it's a Disney movie, so I mean there's no 420 involved. Like, come on. Anyway,
His name's Fred.
he goes and tries to, make friends with these guys, and they bust on him a little bit. And then they're like, okay, so we're going after Tadashi, right? And he's like, what? And his friends are like, yeah, he's our friend. You're our friend. Like, clearly we want to go after him. How are we going to do this? So Hiro invents a bunch of cool superhero gears for them and cool costumes, and they pick up their superhero names and identities. And they decide that they're going to be Big Hero 6, and they're going to save the city from this strange masked villain and the evil portal that he is opening up in the town. And it kind of leaves off the end of episode 1 is the team's been formed, they got their costumes, and now they're going to go and save the city and investigate the mystery. So yeah, I liked it. It was actually better than I expected because, to be honest, I thought it was going to be a straight one-to-one from the movie, which, while lovely, I do like that movie a lot, doesn't offer me a lot in the way of new reading. So it's kind of cool to see maybe an earlier starting point or perhaps an extended edition version of what this story was and how it came from and how it got to be developed. And the manga style works absolutely perfect for this story. 10/10. Please give me more Big Hero 6 original stories in manga because it's just such a natural fit. I really liked this. It was fun. I would say it's probably appropriate for age 10 and up. If your kid has seen the movie and they're okay with, the slightly more intense parts, I think they'll be fine with it, but use your own best judgment. And, Baymax is adorable as always, so can't complain about that. Anyway, that's my review of Big Hero 6, Volume 1, the manga adaptation. Check it out.
How many volumes will it be?
So this came out, I think, a while ago, and there's 2 volumes. I saw online it ends on a cliffhanger, but I was doing some Googling last night, and apparently they have another manga series that's based off of the Big Hero 6 TV show. So 2 volumes in this one,
There it is.
and then TBD on the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, great question.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I haven't watched that movie in a while, but now I'm excited to
Yeah.
visit it. So cool. And then I wanted to fact check something we talked about earlier. Sonic the Hedgehog is indeed still being published by IDW.
Okay.
Oh,
Katie, earlier I talked about the DC
okay.
Comics and Sonic the Hedgehog crossover.
Oh, no
You were
way.
wondering because there's no IDW logo on the book.
Yeah.
But D. Brad was questioning on where the rights were with these characters, and it's weird that IDW is not listed on here next to the DC
Hmm.
logo. So
Yeah, I missed that
Interesting.
from D Brad, but yeah, I knew they were still putting out stuff with IDW and playing around with Godzilla and all that stuff too now.
all right. Well, that is going to do it for the weekly reviews. And that will do it for the episode as well. Thank you all for listening, for checking out the video. A couple plugs. We are going to announce that the West Bend High School's Comic Con in West Bend, Wisconsin, Saturday, May 17th, 2025. By the time this episode comes out, it'll be next month that this convention will be happening. What's really cool about this is that all the table fees, the admission fees, and the concession proceeds benefit the comic book club that's at the West Bend High School, which is connected to David Gloyd of Crimson Cowl Media. David Gloyd is running the comic club. He created the comic club for the high school, and one of their projects was to put on a comic convention. So we will be there. We've been reaching out to artist friends and just anybody, artist vendors, local, and just getting the applications out there. If you are listening or seeing this message, that is the information there. Just comment or send a message to any of us across social media wherever you see us, and we'll get you the all the info needed if you want to be a vendor at the West Bend High School's Comic Con. I'm very excited to set up the table there and introduce Rice Christopher to more people. So yeah, that is the West Bend High School's Comic Con, Saturday, May 17th, 2025. More info. We're hoping to have David on the show to kind of talk about that in depth, but this is just kind of the announcement to get it out there so people know and can mark their calendars. And D. Brad can, book his flight or fill up the gas tank and make the trip from Canada to go to the West Bend High School's Comic Con. Oh, I didn't tell you that? Yeah, it's springing this on you. CrimsonCowl.com for info and original web comics. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on iTunes. Subscribe, rate, and review. If you want the video version where we see, panel examples of the art, you see all of our friendly faces, go to Crimson Cowl Comic Club over on YouTube, which I believe is the full experience of the comic club. Subscribe, rate, and review. Tell a friend. That definitely helps the show grow. And Kirby, you have a spinoff podcast called Under the Cowl of MS. Can you let people know what's going on over there?
Working on comic book reviews and unboxings right now, just trying to get through some stuff. And then hopefully by May or June, we'll be back to our regular scheduled programs and have all kinds of extra stuff for everybody again. So
excellent.
Check it out.
Subscribe to Under the Call of MS wherever you get your podcast, over on social medias, and especially over on YouTube. Let's see here. I have some art accounts, Anthony Laatsch, LAATSCH, over on Instagram and Facebook, in which I post my art drawings and stuff like that. And I advertise things like Rice Christopher. I've got Rice Christopher, the Wednesday afternoon special. I got Rice Christopher, the Pineapple Holiday Special. And this is the first time I'm doing the actual ad on the show because I'm wearing a lot of merchandise. But I have a Threadless shop as well. Latchkeykid.threadless.com. All the links are in the show notes and all that fun stuff. You can go there and get many a t-shirts. This is a brand new design. My mom requested a Rice Christopher with this "It's time for lunchtime" catchphrase, and it was funny because I just had the catchphrase on the Threadless site, and she's like, "Oh, I really like that, but I wish there was a picture of like rice and the words too." And I'm like, "Well, I can make that." So I'm like, "I'm the one that's responsible for doing that." And within a day or two, then there we go. Now we both have this T-shirt. There's many of other T-shirt examples, which I conveniently have right here. And by convenient, I mean I'm supposed to take these off here conveniently. Um, this is also a newer one here, which is also a design that I got on a hat. So got the Rice Christopher just chilling, acting cool next to the giant logo. Um, then we have our Nicky the Swan character, one of Art Baltazar's favorites. He's always talking about Nicky the Swan. Then we've got this Rice Christopher one here. Then we've got a Kid Christopher here, the child version of Kid Christopher there, and all of those designs available in many different ways of T-shirts, many different colors, lots of different options, sizes, and gender, and brands and types, and hats and buttons and bunch of stuff. You can even get a shower curtain if you want to. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff over at the Threadless shop, which is latchgeekkid.threadless.com, and that is a good way to get merchandise. And I just double checked that that was the correct address. Yes. So that's the advertisement there. If you want copies of the comic book, hey, maybe come out to the West Bend High School's Comic Con, or you can get them mailed to you by sending an order through latchgeekkid@gmail.com. All right, I think that does all of the advertisement for that. And then finally, Cartoonist by Night. It is a drawing show on YouTube. Myself and D. Brad Gibson, we're co-hosts along with our friends to welcome guests in, and we hang out and draw. And our most recent episode is with Shane Campos, who's a kid's comic book creator, talking about his graphic novel Go Berserk. That was a lot of fun. I'm excited to get a hardcover edition of that so I can bring it to the club and talk about it in a review proper. But definitely check out Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube. Over 30 episodes now, I believe. Lots of different fun episodes and guests and topics and stuff like that. So I think that's going to do it. Thanks again, D. Brad, for hanging out with us to talk about these Disney characters and these Marvel mashups.
Yeah, I'll come back.
Excellent. That's all I needed to hear. There we go. We got to get those ratings up, and D Brad equals ratings. This whole time, I've had something figured out, but I didn't write it into my notes. So this is the part where I pretend I'm not actually ending the show yet, because I just want to thank all of the people for checking out the show and buying me time to say this. This whole time, I've been in the disguise of a normal duck.
I've been hulking out with a bunch of dogs.
I've been Fred, not Frankie.
Musketeers assemble.
Ah, and I've been mental projecting with dotted lines.
To be continued.